Sometimes the so-called villains weren't wrong. In fact, some had sharper ideas, clearer goals, and even better solutions than the heroes who beat them. Their defeat didn't save the world, it doomed it. Today, we're counting down 6 anime villains who should have won. Intellectually, morally, or strategically, they were right. The story just couldn't let them be. Hit subscribe to Nonagon and let's dive in. Number 6. Stain, My Hero Academia. Starting off at number 6, we have a villain who wasn't after power, but purity. Stain's first appearance in My Hero Academia is like a scalpel slicing through the bloated skin of a broken society. In a world drowning in commercialized heroism, where pro-heroes sign autographs before saving lives, Stain emerges not as a chaos agent, but a purifier. A killer, yes, but with terrifying moral clarity. By the time he confronts Tenya Ida in the alleyways of Hosu, the damage is already done. The hero killer has become a symbol. His ideology spreads like a virus, not because of his body count, but because of the truth in his words. Only those who are self-sacrificing, who fight for justice without fame or profit, deserve to be called heroes. That one sentence cracks the entire system. Stain exposes the rot, not by toppling the system directly, but by proving its champions are hollow. Endeavor, Hawks, even All Might, each one in some way becomes infected by Stain's philosophy. The irony, his defeat by 3 fledgling students doesn't silence him. It amplifies him. The League of Villains adopts his message. Dabi radicalizes it. Even the public begins to question the very concept of heroes. But imagine if Stain had truly won. Not in bloodshed, but in legacy. A society forced to reckon with its hypocrisy. A world where hero licenses mean less than character. Where actions weigh more than clout. The fall of Hero Society in Season 6 happens anyway. But under Stain's rule, it might have had purpose. Instead, he's locked away. A relic. Yet even in Tartarus, his words echo louder than most quirks ever could. And here's the kicker. The heroes never really disprove him. They just keep going. As if doing nothing is safer than admitting the villain was right. Stain didn't lose because he was wrong. He lost because the world wasn't ready to change. And that's how you end up with a revolution. Without a leader. Number 5. Isabella, The Promised Neverland. What if the villain is the only adult in a nightmare built for children? Isabella, the caretaker of Grace Fieldhouse, is introduced with the warmth of a lullaby and the eyes of a warden. She feeds, teaches, and sings to the orphans, all while grooming them for slaughter. And yet, she never once lies. That smile, it's genuine. The affection, real. The betrayal, utterly unforgivable. And profoundly human. Her crime is simple. She survives. In a world ruled by demons who feast on human brains, especially those of premium children, Isabella chooses compliance over rebellion. She trades her soul for a position of limited power, not to exploit, but to protect. Because in this system, disobedience doesn't spark revolutions. It gets children killed. And when the kids uncover the truth and plan their escape, Isabella doesn't morph into a cackling villain. She becomes colder, calculating, desperate, not to crush them, but to keep them safe within the system. She knows the outside world is worse. She knows what failure looks like. Her own back is scarred proof. But here's the twist. Isabella isn't trying to win. She's trying to delay the inevitable. If she loses, they suffer. If she wins, she gets to shield them just a little longer. In the anime's climactic escape arc, she's outwitted by Emma and Norman. But her defeat doesn't feel like a triumph. It feels like a gamble with a terrible cost. Because what if she was right? What if the escape leads to a world even more dangerous? A slow death in the guise of freedom? What if her obedience wasn't cowardice, but sacrifice? In the manga's final arcs, Isabella is reframed. Not redeemed, but recontextualized. A pawn with agency. A villain who saw the board clearer than the heroes ever could. Had she won, Gracefield would remain a factory. But those kids, they'd be alive, loved, educated, sheltered, for a little while longer. And that's the tragedy. Sometimes, mercy wears the mask of control. Number 4. Gendo Ikari, Neon Genesis Evangelion, End of Evangelion. If you could rewrite reality just to see your loved one again, would you? Gendo Ikari isn't a villain in the traditional sense. He doesn't seek domination, destruction, or even justice. His war is personal. His enemy? The unbearable void left by Yui's death. So he builds a god machine, sacrifices his son, betrays entire species. All for one thing: reunion. In Neon Genesis Evangelion, Gendo sits at the cold heart of Nerve, distant, unreadable, surgically detached. But behind that stoic mask is a man who made the ultimate trade, humanity's collective future, for a chance to no longer be alone. By the time End of Evangelion rolls in, he's already moved the pieces. Instrumentality is within reach, a transcendental merging of all souls. No more pain, no more isolation, a world without the cruelty of individual minds. And Gendo? He doesn't want to rule it. He wants to disappear into it. Into her. It's tempting to call him a monster. He uses children as tools, manipulates the entire human instrumentality project, sacrifices Kaworu, misleads Seelie, and lies to everyone, including himself. But there's a chilling logic to his madness. In a world this broken, perhaps merging all souls is mercy. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Gendo's plan almost works. It's not some far-fetched apocalypse. It's clean. It's painless. It spares the world from the loneliness that defines Evangelion's entire narrative. But he's stopped. Not by morality, but by emotion. Shinji, the very son he discarded, rejects the false unity and chooses pain. Individuality, the self. And the world is reborn, fractured, fragile, and full of hurt. Yet the question remains, was that the right choice? What Gendo offers isn't power. It's peace, not for the world, but for himself. A cosmic selfishness wrapped in unbearable grief. And in a series where emotional trauma is the true antagonist, maybe his victory would have ended the cycle. Maybe the real tragedy isn't what Gendo tried to do, but that the world wouldn't let him do it. Number 3. Pain. Naruto Shippuden. Sometimes, the worst people say the most necessary things. With a conviction forged in fire. When pain descends upon Konoha, he doesn't just destroy a village, he obliterates a worldview. 6 bodies float through the sky like gods of judgment. Buildings crumble, lives vanish. And in the silence that follows, one message echoes: feel pain, understand pain, accept pain. Macha Nagato Uzumaki, the man behind the myth, is not your average anime villain. He's a survivor of war, a child broken by the endless cycle of shinobi violence. And unlike the pacifist ideals of Jiraiya or the hollow bravado of most leaders, Pain believes in balance through terror, a god of deterrence. He wants peace, yes, but enforced by fear, anchored in memory, and protected by trauma. And here's where it gets messy. It makes sense. Pain's logic is horrifyingly coherent. Every great ninja war began with righteous intentions. Every hero eventually causes collateral damage. Naruto himself is born of a legacy that left orphaned children in its wake. Children like Nagato. So Pain proposes a different solution. Give the world a pain so profound, so unforgettable, that it never dares to start another war again. Konoha's annihilation isn't cruelty. It's a message, one that the shinobi world hears. For a brief moment, he wins. He crushes the symbol of power, forces the leaf to reckon with its sins. And unlike so many villains, Pain actually listens when challenged. Naruto doesn't defeat him through combat. He wins through empathy. But let's be honest, the narrative lets him off easy. Pain's change of heart is too fast, too neat. A lifetime of grief erased by one conversation and a few tears. And what does the world do with that lesson? It forgets. 2 arcs later, it's back to war. Back to cycles. Back to pretending Nagato's vision was just another footnote in Naruto's hero's journey. But imagine if he had prevailed. Imagine a ninja world forced to feel what it had caused. A world led by someone who had lost everything and still chose order over revenge. It wouldn't be peaceful. It wouldn't be pretty. But maybe, just maybe, it would have been honest. Pain didn't want to rule. He wanted the hurting to mean something. And in the end, the world chose comfort over truth. 2. Meruem, hunterxhunter. How do you judge a monster who becomes more human than the humans he was created to consume? Meruem enters hunterxhunter like a force of nature, born in blood, unreasonably powerful, and bred for dominance. He's not a villain with a grudge. He's a king by design, a biological apex predator, created by the Chimera Ant Queen to rule over humanity itself. And for the first few episodes of his reign, that's exactly what he does. Efficient, detached, utterly invincible. But then, he meets Komugi, a blind girl, fragile, helpless, brilliant. Her mastery of Gungi, a fictional strategic board game, doesn't just humble Meruem, it rewires him. With each game, his cruelty gives way to curiosity. His arrogance morphs into reverence. For the first time, the king questions his own supremacy. He begins to think. And here lies the paradox. The more human Meruem becomes, the more he realizes humanity is worth saving. Or at least, worth understanding. He halts the executions, spares the weak, asks questions no Chimera Ant was ever supposed to ask. What is equality? What is mercy? What is dignity? But the world doesn't wait for answers. The chairman of the Hunter Association, Netero, doesn't come to talk. He comes to kill. And he fails. Spectacularly. Only a last resort nuclear bomb hidden in his own heart ends Meruem's reign. And yet, Meruem survives even that. Scarred, poisoned, dying. But more alive than ever. In his final moments, he doesn't lash out. He returns to Komugi. To Gungi. To a quiet, human death. A death filled with grace. But what if he had lived? Imagine a world ruled by a being with the strength of a god and the humility to learn. A king who understood both domination and restraint. Who could have ended human war, not by erasing conflict, but by transcending it. He wasn't trying to enslave the world anymore. He was trying to deserve it. And for that, the story killed him. Because Meruem didn't die as a monster, he died as a mirror. One that showed how broken the human world truly was. Number 1, Makishima Shogo, Psychopass. And at number 1, we arrive at the mind that broke the system designed to control all minds. Makishima Shogo is not superpowered. He doesn't throw cities into the sky or crush skulls with psychic blasts. He reads books, quotes Orwell, Pascal, and Dick, wields philosophy like a scalpel. And in the pristine dystopia of Psychopass, that makes him the most dangerous threat of all. Because Makishima does the unthinkable. He exists outside the Sybil system. In a society where every citizen is judged by their mental state, where your career, freedom, and even right to live depends on your psychopass, Makishima is unreadable. The system can't classify him, can't punish him, can't touch him. And he uses that flaw to wage war not against people, but against the very idea of control. He doesn't kill for pleasure. He kills to provoke. To expose the apathy bred by dependence on a machine god, he stages literary reenactments, orchestrates mass hysteria, all to prove one chilling thesis: a society that outsources morality becomes morally bankrupt. And here's the kicker: he's right. The Sybil system maintains order, yes, but at the cost of free will. It locks children into futures they never chose. It paralyzes enforcers who witness crimes they're forbidden to stop. It declares the truth irrelevant if it disrupts harmony. Makishima doesn't just break the rules. He writes new ones. In his world, choices matter. Consequences sting. Freedom is real, even if it hurts. He doesn't want anarchy. He wants awakening. And in the end, he loses. Shot down by Kogami in a moment of cold resolution. Not because he was wrong, but because the system would rather silence a prophet than let him speak. But what if Makishima had won? What if Sybil had been exposed? Toppled? The cost would have been chaos, yes, but also rebirth. A chance for humanity to reclaim its agency. To be human, not measured variables in a sterile algorithm. Makishima didn't want to rule the world. He just wanted it to stop lying to itself. Not every villain was wrong. Some were just ahead of their time. Which one do you think should have won? Drop your pick in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Nonagon for more epic anime breakdowns.